Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 10 of Loss, Love, and All the Other Shit in Between. Today's episode is called Reflection, A Journey Within. Now, this is the final episode of season one. And to be honest with you, at times I didn't feel like I'd actually get here. There was times that I wanted to quit. There was times that I didn't feel I was getting out fully what I was actually wanting from the podcast. But the more time I reflected and sat back and relaxed, I realized that for me, it was always the journey of speaking my truth and getting my story out there and speaking about certain topics that I feel passionate about. Now, over the last 3 months, like I said, it has been trying times. There's been times that I wanted to take a longer break. There was times that I didn't feel that I got exactly my story across or what I wanted to get across to everybody in my views. But there were some really nice, kind words and certain people that reached out to me and told me, Sean, just keep doing what you're doing. It's only going to get better. And it's true. I've found watching back on the podcast over this journey over the last 3 months, I've found that it was very raw to begin with. And I didn't quite know how to do what I was doing. I was new to it, and I still am. Every day I'm learning something different and certain skills and certain ways that I can, touch up the podcast and make it a little bit more viable for everybody else. And it kind of works, and I'm going to keep doing it. Now, with this one, I did 10 episodes, and I'm going to kind of stick to that and give myself a few weeks off, bit of a refresh, and come back with season two. Now, over the last 3 months, there's certain topics that I covered. Now, one of the main ones was obviously loss, because that was the beginning of the podcast, and not many people know this, but originally, when myself and my daughter came up with the name of the podcast, love was the first word. So it was actually going to be called Love, Loss, and All the Other Shit in Between. And it kind of works. But I felt what's made me the person I am today is, sad to say, but I've been through a lot of loss, and I'm not the only person, but this is my story. And at the last minute, I put loss at the beginning, and it's kind of stuck now. And I branded it, and with the clothing that I've got coming out soon, um, I'm not going to go changing it. So I'm happy. I'm very happy. Now, I've made a lot of new friends and new relationships and everything else, and it's gone really well. And, certain people have reached out that I never knew before, certain individuals that have, when I've been at Claire's Clairvoyance evening, I made some new friends that way, and they overheard, and with Claire advertising the podcast while up on stage. So thank you, Claire. A lot of people have then reached out and wanting to know more about it. And with discussions with these individuals, they've become subscribers now, and it's really, really nice. And, they'll always leave a comment, and they'll always reach out, and, they feel comfortable talking to me. So they open up a bit and they'll tell me their stories and their struggles, and I will help them as much as I possibly can. And I always said that from the beginning, that people need to realize that you're not alone. And I get it when you go through struggle, when you go through heartache, you feel at times that you are alone and you shut yourself away. And I've learned over time, it's not healthy. If you've got loved ones and you've got a partner or a husband or a wife, and you can speak to them and you've got a good relationships, then fair play. That's really good, because, keeping all of it bottled up, it can make you really ill. So, I didn't have that when I was going through my issues. I didn't really have anyone I could really speak to. And it made me really ill. And, over time, I've learned how to deal with that pain. And, I still struggle with it every day. Don't get me wrong. It never goes away. It just gets easier to deal with. But the certain work that I've done with charities and time that I've spent with individuals, you have that open table kind of discussion, and it does help, because then they can give you advice of how they've dealt with it and how they've moved forward, and vice versa. And one thing this podcast has done over this time is given me the confidence to speak more, and it's given me the opportunity to work with charities, and the charities that I work for, and and sponsored, and all the kind people that have donated to the charities that I've been working with. So thank you. I really appreciate you. And I always felt over the last 5, 10, 15 years, watching other people doing charity runs, 5K runs, climbing mountains and everything else, you were just like, oh, well, that'd be amazing. But you never actually get the oomph to go and actually do it yourself. But I felt with the podcast, especially when I advertised it, there was no way of pulling out. And it kind of motivated me to want to do better and wanted to be the better version of myself. And the work that I did when I climbed Mount Snowdon, that was something, I would never thought I would ever get the opportunity to do. So doing that was such an achievement for my own self and who I was doing it for, which was men's mental health, or men's minds matter. Sorry, I do apologize. But and then the other 5K runs that I did, and I had a few other charity events for this year. So I'm hoping to still do that, of course. And I'm going to do more next year. I want to do a lot of work with the older generation. And yes, I'm getting on myself. But I was chatting to a very close friend of mine recently, and we were both saying that, you know, we're very passionate about the elderly, and and it's pretty sad when they get to that certain point in their life where they feel really alone, and that to me is really sad. They've put a lot of life in this world, and towards the end, to be alone, it's one of the saddest things ever, in my opinion. So I want to do a lot of work with them. So I want to spend time with them. Just small things that might be mediocre to other people, but for me, it's just, it's that quality time, right? It's reading a book with them, it's watching a movie with them, taking them shopping, just having a discussion of how their day's been, and to hear their stories. I want that, and I want to do that, and I want to help people. And yeah, that's just something I'm really passionate about. Um, and yeah, so I'm going to do that next year. I'm going to be go full in with charities, and do more 5K runs, of course. And yeah, and just try, I'm going to do a Tough Mudder. There's a few uh, charity events that I want to do with Marie Claire. And yeah, and with Alzheimer's, and then children with cancer. There was another event I'm going to be doing later on this year. And yeah, podcast. Wow. I never thought for a second that I would ever have one. And yeah, it's been tough. And a lot of people, especially recently, have been airing their views, and that's fine. That's everyone's opinion, and that's great. But in any kind of streaming that you do, you will find, especially if you go onto YouTube, and you will see that a lot of people get addicted to views, and you do get addicted to subscribers and thumbs up, and you got to try and see past that. But there is days that you look at it and you put a lot of work and effort into your podcast, and you look and you're not getting the views, and then you kind of looking towards yourself, and you saying like, is there something I'm doing wrong? Is there something I need to do better? And when nobody's speaking out and nobody's airing their views, either it be positive or negative, I'm all for constructive criticism, of course. But you always find that with family, I've got a huge family, and I know we're not close anymore, which is pretty sad, but certain individuals I would have thought would have reached out, never reached out. And yeah, that hard to take, when, especially when you're, expressing what you went through during that ordeal and them times, and them certain individuals don't reach out. Yeah, it does affect you, and it does affect your mental health. And yeah, and friends, yeah, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to push any further than I already have. A lot of people have said to me, you'll understand that it won't actually be within your inner circle that are going to support you. It's going to be people outside that circle. And I've found that recently and for a while now, that it's actually people I would never have thought for a second that would be fighting my corner and being on this journey with me. So, I really appreciate that. Um, yeah, I enjoy it, and I enjoy the feeling I get when I complete the podcast and I post that podcast up, and then you get the likes and you get the views, and then you got your friends reaching out and saying, look, that was your best podcast you've done so far. Them little small comments and them messages, it kind of gives you that boost that you're looking for. And I'm going to keep continuing to do it. And with season 2, I'm going to have to spice it up a bit. I'm going to have to look at other topics. I can't just deal with loss. That loss element is there. It's never going to go away, but I've dealt with it. And that was one of the toughest ones I've done so far, was episode 2. Because there were certain points in my life where I was able to, I taught myself to put it in the back burner, to put it at the back of my brain. I dealt with it for so many years that I felt I didn't really need to anymore, but I felt I had to express them vulnerabilities. I had to express exactly what I went through so people can understand where my head was at and who I am as an individual. And then to show that strength through adversity, and show how not many people would be able to go through not just what I went through, but what my family went through and still get through the other side. Obviously, it didn't go too well for my little brother. God rest his soul. But, it's these struggles define us as individuals, because we're all going to go through it. And that's one thing that is promised to everybody. We're not going to live forever. We can watch Peter Pan and wish we could live forever, or Highlander, but would you want to outlive everybody? Nah, to be honest with you, no. Because I'd want everybody to live forever. But maybe that's just my selfish nature. Because I don't want to lose anyone else. I generally don't want to. We had my auntie's funeral recently, and that was tough, but it was so lovely to have the whole family around. And it was really nice to have the family. I was sitting with my auntie, my mum's sister, and I hadn't seen her in a while. So it was really nice, even though it was a painful day. It was still nice that I got together with my family, and, I had a really good time under the circumstances. And it was all about celebrating her life and celebrating her children and celebrating the experiences and the memories that we had, And then there were certain family members that I haven't seen for many, many years. And we saw each other, and now this is my stepdad's family, but, I still class them as family, because they're still connected to my brother and my sister. And, we had some discussions and we spoke about certain memories, and it was nice. It was nice to, to have them chats, but in turn, then it brings up the past, and I try not live in the past too much, but, the past is what has happened, and what it is, it's history. And, and we always bring history up, and every day in school, everything else, you always bring up the history. And the history of me is what happened to me in the past. And then talking about the future, it might not be everyone's cup of tea to not live in the now and want to step forward, but you've always got to look to the future, when it comes to work, when it comes to your children, when it comes to relationships. You have to look to the future. You have to look is to where you would like to get to, that certain plateau of, the next 5 years. It doesn't mean you have to push it, but it's always good to have them dreams, them aspirations of where you want to go, like holidays, for instance. You want to talk about, where we're going to go next year. But if you don't, then you don't put plans in place. You're not able to save up to save for that holiday. So I'll always look at the past and I'll always look at the future, but I'm all for living in the now as well. And, I'm getting on really well with my work, and I've been working on this contract now for the last 4.5 months, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. And it could be coming close to the end. And yeah, it's pretty sad, but like with anything, things end. But I've really enjoyed my time with these individuals, and I've made friends for life there for sure. And if things work out the way I would like it to, then hopefully it's going to become more of a permanent fixture. But we'll see. We'll see over the next few weeks. You know, the times I've spent during the podcast period of the last 3 months, it's crazy to think it's only been 3 months, because it takes its toll on you. I'm doing it every 2 weeks. So every second Friday I'll do the podcast, and then the following Friday I'll then post it. And by the time it's been posted, you give yourself a week, and then you're having to do the next episode. So maybe I need to adapt it, and maybe I need to work on it. I think one of my favorite ones I did is when I did 2 podcasts at the same time. And I was going to post both, but then speaking to my son, we were like, all right, maybe I should space it out and give myself a bit of a break from doing it, but I'll still set up the next one. And that kind of worked. So I may look at that in the next season as well. One of my favorite episodes would have to be the one I did in Greece, because I love going to Greece. It's one of them places that I love, the sun, the sand, the sea, and what the sun does to you. And I'm in awe. When I'm there, I just have such a good time. And then when I did the podcast there, it just felt right, and it kind of worked, and showing the beach and going into the water and having my little Daniel Craig moment. That was more of just, purifying myself and clearing all the negativity out, going into the water and coming out a new person, coming out fresh and ready to, take the world on. And it worked. I felt great. And that episode did really well. It did really well. And again, a lot of people reached out and they told me it felt like they were there. And that was the whole point I wanted to do. If I could do more travel vlogs, I would. We'll maybe see season 2, maybe 3. The big trip I want to do next year is to go to Nashville, Tennessee. A lot of people that know me know I'm into R&B and I'm into hip hop, garage. But I've got to a certain point in my life now where I love all forms of music. And over the last, I would say, year, I've got right into country music. And that doesn't mean Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, really good song anyway. But it's just more Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, and all artists like that. I've got right into the music, and I love the whole line dancing element. I love to dance. So for the last year, 2 years, I've been looking at Nashville. So I'd love to, for my big birthday next year, I want to go to Nashville. So I'd like to do a podcast while I'm there and just show what it's like around there. And I love the whole aspect of taking people on my journey with me and taking people on holiday. It felt good, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so the love element of the podcast, yes, I felt the first one, I kind of felt it felt like I was advertising myself. So maybe that was a bit too much in that sense. But I wanted to express how I felt and how love and what it's been for me over the last so many years, and not like a boohoo moment, but more of the struggles that I've dealt with and having to find that elusive spark. And but I felt the next episode, Love the Sequel, I kind of delved more into the love element, and I think that worked. I love doing the technology one. It didn't get many views, but that's fine. I felt with technology, I kind of highlighted what I've seen over the last few years, how technology is controlling us and what we do on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, I admit, I'd be lost without technology. I wouldn't be able to do my podcast without my laptop. I wouldn't be able to do it without the camera, without the microphone, and I'd be kind of lost without my phone. And people that know me, TV, movies, there's so many, it's endless. So I'm not shooting down technology, but I just think the way it controls our day-to-day routines, we got to be able to take a little bit of a break from it from time to time. Now, what I'm going to do moving forward, I've got a clothing that I'm currently designed and put together with one of my close friend Jay, and she's going to be doing some hoodies for me in the next week or so. I want to do some caps because people that know me again will know I wear a lot of baseball caps. So I want to do a few different designs, baseball caps, and then do some polo shirts, some t-shirts, bag. Yeah, no, there's endless. So I've got a few ideas that I'm working on at the moment, and that'll be over the next couple of weeks. Now, a lot of people have said to me, Sean, maybe you should shrink down your episodes because they're a bit long. I agree within a certain level, but I feel to get my message across, I can't, there's not many podcasts that are 10 minutes long or 15 minutes long. Most podcasts are over that half an hour mark, 40-minute mark, and I kind of stuck to that. But yeah, certain topics, I lose myself sometimes and I get right into it and you lose track of time. So I'm going to try and keep my podcast around the 45-minute mark. Don't really know exactly what time this episode is on so far, but I'll come close to the end soon. And yeah, first and foremost, I just want to thank everybody that's been on this journey with me and supported me along the way. And there's certain individuals that haven't yet watched my podcast. When you get round to it, reach out. They are on there. I'm not planning anytime soon taking them down. So they're always going to be there. Guys, when you're ready, one of my close, like a big sister to me, my cousin, she hadn't watched them. And it wasn't affecting me knowing that she hadn't. But she acknowledged that the podcast was there and she will eventually get round to it, and she watched it. And she spoke to me after the first episode, after she watched the first one, and she said, oh, I don't know why I was holding back from watching it. It was really, really good. And I'm going to keep watching them. I don't know if she has then gone on and watched more episodes. That's down to the individual. That's fine. But I'm happy that she watched it. I wanted her to see more of what I went through during that period of time, just to have a better understanding. And a lot of people, I think, automatically assume that every episode or every podcast that I've done, it's all about loss and it's all morbid and it's all this, downridden, make you feel really bad about yourself. And then you start questioning your own mentality. You know, I'm not going to do a whole season on loss. You know, I covered the one. Yes, obviously, my brother's one, that was just a little small little one in memory of my little brother. And then there's my mum's one, but that was something that I'd done a while ago. It was just something that I edited and put it together and made an episode out of it. And then the newer part of it was the affirmation Sean talk at the end. And but the other 7, 8 episodes was different subjects. So it will be more upbeat. People that know me as well will know, you know, I'm a funny character. I like to have a laugh. I like to joke around. Life is way too serious at times. And so there will be a lot more fun, for sure, in season 2. But yes, to get back to it, thank you, everybody. I really do appreciate you. And for all them really amazing, amazing, amazing people that reached out to me and shared their love for the podcast. Um, you know, if I didn't have you guys in my life, you know, there'd be no real point in me doing this. I just think certain bonds that I've had and the new bonds that I've made through the podcast, um, yeah, it's been amazing. And I'm just going to keep striving, keep doing it. So thank you. So how I'm going to end the podcast today, I'm going to do my usual Sean talk. I've really enjoyed doing these. I do spend a lot of time on these during the 2 weeks per for every episode, building up to that episode. I will always work on the ending because I always think it's important. It's how you end something. You want to make sure that it keeps people interested. So for this one, I will start now. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Take care, as always. Hey, you. Yeah, you listening. We made it. Welcome to the season finale of Lost Love and all the other shit in between. I'm Sean Erickson, and before anything else, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for press and play, for sticking around, and for walking with me through this messy, beautiful, gut-wrenching, heart-opening last 3 months. When I started this podcast, I didn't have a grand plan. There was no big production team, no script handed to me, no roadmap, just a mic, some stories, and a need to process everything that has been living in my chest. I created this space as a form of survival, therapy even, and honestly, I wasn't sure if anyone would listen. But you did. You showed up, and that means more than I can explain. Over the last 90 days, we covered a lot. We talked about grief, the kind that lingers in silence and shows up on random Tuesdays. We talked about love, not just the butterflies and the fireworks kind, but the kind that's messy and complicated. The kind that heals and sometimes the kind that breaks you. And of course, we got into all the other shit in between. Because let's be real, life doesn't come in neat little categories. It's all tangled up. Some episodes were heavy, some were lighter. Some days I cried before hitting record. Other days I laughed at myself mid-sentence. But every time I told the truth, or at least my truth. And that's the biggest takeaway from this season. Truth matters. And even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's raw, even when you're still figuring it out, as you say out loud, the truth is, we don't always get closure. We don't always get the love we give. Sometimes people leave, sometimes we leave, but sometimes we grow out of the versions of ourselves we thought we'd always be. And that's okay. It has to be okay. The truth is, looking back, this season was about reflection, reclamation, and release. Reflection on what we've lost, what we've gained, and what still lingers in our bones. Reclamation of our voices, our stories, our right to feel everything without apology. And release of expectations, of old wounds, of things we can't change. And now, here we are at the end of season 1, a little bruised, a little wiser, and hopefully a little softer with ourselves. If there's one thing I hope you walk away with, is this: you're not alone. Whatever it is you're carrying, someone else has carried it too. Pain might isolate us, but stories reconnect us. That's why this podcast exists. And while this is the end of season 1, it's not the end of the conversation. I'll be back with new stories, new voices, and probably a few more emotional breakdowns, because healing isn't linear, and neither is life. So until then, take care of yourself the way you take care of the people you love. Give yourself grace, stay curious about your own heart, and when the world feels like it's too much, come back to this space. I'll be here. This is Sean Erickson, signing off from Lost, Love, and all the other shit in between, season 1. Thank you for being part of this, truly. Until next time, stay soft, stay wild, stay real, and I love you. Thank you.